Welcome back to the Thinking Crypto podcast, your home for cryptocurrency news and interviews. If you are new here, please hit that subscribe button as well as the thumbs up button and leave a comment below. If you're listening on a podcast platform such as Spotify, Apple, or Google, please leave a 5-star rating and review. It supports the podcast and it doesn't cost you anything. This content is brought to you by Uphold, which makes crypto investing easy. I've been a user of Uphold since 2017. They're one of my go-to exchanges, so I can certainly vouch for them. They have 10 plus million users, 250 plus cryptocurrencies, and they're available in 150 countries. You can also trade precious metals and equities on this platform. If you'd like to learn more, please visit the link in the description. Well, folks, we have some very big news today. There were rumors going around that Prime Trust, the crypto custodian, was having problems and they're about to go bankrupt and go out of business. Well, Bitgo, which is a massive crypto custody firm, which is owned by Mike Belshe, who is, of course, an internet legend. The man was at Netscape and did a lot of great things at Google. And I interviewed him a few times. I'm going to try to get him back in a podcast to talk about this news. But crypto custody firm Bitgo reaches preliminary agreement to buy Prime Trust. So the financial terms of the deal were not disclosed by the source. So this is obviously just the free market playing out, right? One business is suffering, another big one that is in a good place financially and operationally is coming in to make an acquisition. So here's the statement that Bitgo tweeted out. They said Bitgo signed a term sheet to acquire the equity of Prime Core Technologies Incorporated, the parent company of Prime Trust, bringing business continuity, long-term stability, and regulated, secure solutions to valued Prime Trust clients. This acquisition makes Bitgo the first global digital asset company to provide a full suite of solutions for institutions and fintech platforms. Bitgo's long track record of credibility, strong balance sheet, and best-in-class operational standards position the company for the M&A, which is merger and acquisition, and business growth amid this crypto winter. So good news, we kind of dodged a bullet here because if you had a crypto custodian go down, it certainly would not be good. And, the crypto winter is still having some effects here, but we see it's not just crypto. We're seeing banks are failing and the economy is still in a bad place with obviously inflation. And some are saying we are already in some sort of light recession. So this is happening across the board. But, crypto took a big hit, of course. The crypto winter was tough and we had a lot of collapses, obviously the biggest being FTX and the big fraud that they committed. But this is good news, at least. We dodged a bullet once again, and Bitgo, a really well-run company that's been around for a while, is becoming even stronger and bigger, and they have a lot of great technologies and solutions. And once again, if you haven't seen my interview with Mike Belshe, I've interviewed him 2 times, and one from just a year ago, and then the other one was I think earlier this year, if I'm not mistaken. But nevertheless, this is good news. We dodged the bullet here. Now, MetaMask Institutional to integrate with Fireblocks MPC platform. Fireblocks will be added to the list of MetaMask institutional custody technology providers, allowing its users to perform token swaps and stake ETH using the app's dashboard. So the infrastructure for institutional investors continues to be built. And that means, as they get all these things in place, more money is going to flow into the crypto market. I know that seems hard to believe right now, but all the headwinds we're facing. But remember, crypto is a global asset class. And even if the United States, some of the institutional investors here pump the brakes due to the uncertainty and the nonsense we're dealing with Gary Gensler and the SEC, globally, they're going to do their thing, right? Because these other countries have regulations, they have clarity, there's no ambiguity or confusion. So let me give you some details. MetaMask Institutional is wallet software that offers institutions a variety of features, including the ability to stake and lend crypto. It does not custody funds for institutions. Instead, it allows institutions to choose between multiple custody technology providers. Fireblocks is the latest provider to join the list, which includes Bitgo, and obviously we just talked about them. Gnosis Safe, Parfin, Hex Trust, and others. Hex Trust, many of you may recall, I interviewed the CEO of Hex Trust many times. I'll probably try to get him back on the podcast. But these big companies are all integrating and building, and they're building on and off ramps and the ability to connect with each other, which is really great. And here, Fireblocks says they use multi-party computation, a process that splits users' private key into shards and distributes the shards across a decentralized network. This can help to prevent any one node from having access to the full key, potentially making the wallet more secure. The company claims that over 1,800 institutions use its service to secure their crypto. That's a pretty good amount of companies, once again, given that this is a young asset class. But this is great news, folks. More building, more partnerships, more integration, more on and off ramps being built for institutional investors. Now, Kraken Exchange, big news here. Kraken NFT marketplace launches with support for Ethereum, Solana, and Polygon collections. Now, obviously, Kraken took a big hit when the SEC sued them for their staking service. They, of course, settled, but that's not stopping them from building and expanding their services. So now out of its public beta test, the platform has expanded to include over 250 NFT collections. The company launched the public beta version of its NFT platform in November. Initially, it offered support for a curated selection of 70 NFT collections on Ethereum and Solana. As part of its public launch, the platform has pledged to include not only blue chip projects like CryptoPunks and Bored Ape Yacht Club, but also more affordable collections that can be bought for under $100. So great to see Kraken is expanding. NFTs are the future. I don't know if Bored Ape Yacht Club is going to be around in the future, right? Because it's more of artwork, but NFTs with utility are definitely going to be around, and you're going to see big brands and companies use NFTs. Everybody will end up using NFTs in one way or the other. It'll be running on apps and behind the scenes on your phone, and whether you know which blockchain it's running on or not, doesn't matter. It's going to add utility to said blockchains that are going to be adopted. Now, here's some interesting news from Google. Google now offering $1 million crypto mining attack protection. Google found that 65% of all cases involving compromised cloud accounts, hackers were engaging in crypto mining. Folks, it's so interesting to sit back and watch all these bells and whistles and things get set up for crypto. These companies and these brands and even the government, they can't ignore crypto anymore. It's here to stay. The genie's out the bottle, right? The toothpaste is out of the tube. There's no putting it back in. So subscribers to the Google Security Command Center Premium, a cyber threat detector, are entitled to this hefty protection. Philip Hughes, if I'm saying that right, a cloud security expert for market research firm IDC, said that Google Cloud is taking a step forward with this move. Here's a quote. Crypto mining attacks continue to be a serious security and financial issue for organizations who do not have the right preventative controls and threat detection capabilities in their cloud environments. The decision to include such coverage for these types of breaches came after Google's cybersecurity action team published a September 2022 report showing that in 65% of cases involving compromised cloud accounts, hackers were engaging in cryptocurrency mining. The attacks are often partially or completely automated, according to the report, making them quick and easy to carry out. In the event that a hacker manages to bypass Google's detection capabilities and proceeds to run crypto mining software on a user's cloud account, Google will now take responsibility for the customer's expenses, providing coverage of up to $1 million for their bill. So obviously this is addressing kind of a negative aspect, people using bad actors using crypto, but obviously bad actors use cash. They use whatever means of value transfer there is, and they're looking to hack people's cloud accounts and use it for crypto mining and so forth. But this is showing, this is what comes with the territory, right? I mean, just look at the growth of the internet, look at the negative aspects that came with it, but obviously the positive outweigh the negative. Same thing here. Crypto and blockchain, the positive outweigh the negative, but we got to protect against the negative. We have to protect against the bad actors. But from a macro perspective, you're seeing the growing adoption here. And unfortunately, with that comes the bad actors. But it's just par for the course because we're dealing with humans. Humans are not perfect. There are bad people in the society. This is just normal, civilization, societal things. Now let's jump ahead. Everybody knows Gary Gensler is a corrupt scumbag clown that we are dealing with here. And we're seeing more and more people come out and criticize the SEC, especially after what they did with Coinbase. Some may say, well, hey, maybe Binance deserved it. I'm not saying they did, but Binance doesn't have a good reputation here in DC or at least the United States, but Coinbase does. And Coinbase was green-lighted by the SEC to do an IPO. Well, Senator Cynthia Lummis, who I interviewed a couple of years ago, and she's been a big Bitcoin and crypto proponent, she said, my statement on the SEC suing Coinbase Incorporated, she tweeted out, the SEC has failed to provide a path for digital asset exchanges to register, and even worse, has failed to provide adequate legal guidance on what differentiates a security from a commodity. The SEC's continued reliance on regulation by enforcement continues to harm consumers. Real consumer protection requires creating a robust legal framework that exchanges can comply with, not pushing the industry offshore or into the shadows. This is why Congress needs to pass the Lummis-Gillibrand Responsible Financial Innovation Act. Now, obviously, Senator Lummis is a Republican. Senator Gillibrand is a Democrat. They put together this bipartisan bill, which they introduced last year. It's pretty good, but we have to see which bits and pieces of these bills will be pulled together to form a great one. Obviously, last week, Patrick McHenry and Glenn Thompson, they put together a great bill as well, which I think was probably better than the Lummis-Gillibrand bill. But at the end of the day, it was just a draft, and they have to figure out what's going to stay, what's not going to stay. Maybe there's bits and pieces of the Lummis-Gillibrand bill that could be merged into Patrick McHenry's bill. We'll have to see, but this is good. We need more members of Congress coming out and speaking out against the SEC, highlighting the nonsense we're dealing with here, and of course, put out legislation and try to push it through. Here's another example. This is a Democrat, Richie Torres, big advocate of crypto. Here's some things that he had to say. Here's the headline. Gensler accused of being in complete contempt of Congress with crackdown on Coinbase. He's portraying crypto as the villain in order to portray himself as a political hero, says one Democratic congressman. So, of course, this is Richie Torres. He says the latest enforcement action against Coinbase is an egregious example of regulation by enforcement. It demonstrates complete contempt for Congress, which is the process of developing a framework for crypto regulation. So once again, we need more voices like this from Congress coming out, and this will get the attention of those who are not paying attention in Congress, who could care less about crypto, to realize, hey, we got a problem here and we need to fix it. And Gary Gensler is a big part of that problem. Now, we've been talking about, the news yesterday where Gary wanted to work for Binance. That news was revealed by the lawyers for Binance. And obviously, it's very telling. And here, this user by the name of Kenny, he's a senior executive intern at Maintain Network. He was named Forbes 60 under 100 or something like that. Anyway, he gave a story about his time being a teaching assistant with Gary Gensler at MIT. Boy, he had some great thoughts here, validating that Gary and CZ were in contact years ago, and clearly Gary was trying to get CZ involved in things. So Kenny says, the year before I was Gary Gensler's teaching assistant for crypto finance and blockchain lab at MIT Sloan. I was a student in his class, wrote a report on BNB. That report, which Mr. Gensler sent to CZ to read, inspired me to get more involved in crypto. It wasn't the report, but the interaction between Mr. Gensler and Mr. Zhao. I felt an opportunity for a future of blockchain that was open to innovation from both the side of the regulator and the innovator. This was 2019. I didn't think I'd focus on Web3, being in crypto for a while, and I even wrote articles, but never thought I'd get more involved. Meeting Mr. Gensler, members of from the DCI, and watching another side of the space unfold gave me a new perspective. And he shared his articles and the history of money and things that he wrote. He said during summer 2019, when I interned in Shanghai, I'd meet up with Victor. I guess that's somebody he knew. I don't have his full name here, but on weekends to hack on a project around decentralized ID and small businesses. I remember calling Mr. Gensler halfway around the world to discuss these ideas, and we had thoughtful conversations. Meeting Mr. Gensler, hacking with Victor, getting recognized by Mr. Zhao, all felt like wins from the universe guiding me. I didn't seek these opportunities, but somehow ended up in the right place at the right time. And those universal wins led me to building something in Web3 alongside friends all around the world for the past 3 years. Some of the toughest moments of my life, definitely most tiring. The recent news regarding the lawsuits against Binance and Coinbase is truly an unfortunate outcome from the perspective of someone inspired by the same figures entangled in this. As silly as it sounds, it's like watching your parents fight. Folks, so insightful, right? And what Gary was doing back then versus what he's doing now. He said, I wish the outcome was different. I didn't have all the information, and I know this is only the beginning, but I truly hope that whatever comes out of this takes into account all the hard work that the brightest minds are putting into the space to change the world. But we know Gary is now a puppet and honestly, I think the SEC chair seat is a puppet, essentially, because the TradFi incumbents are weaponizing the SEC, and of course the head of the snake is the chairman. And clearly Gary's saying these or using these talking points that we don't need digital currency, we already have the US dollar. Those are statements we've heard Warren Buffett say, Janet Yellen, and people who are very anti-crypto. So it's essentially the banking cartel that has Gary as a puppet, and he's being controlled, right? So he's completely flipped from what he was saying years ago. Obviously, he was endorsing Algorand, shilling it, and he tried to go work for Binance, and now he's attacking the industry. Now, here's an interesting bill. This one is, I think, just some political grandstanding. So Senator Tommy Tuberville would block Chinese ownership of U.S. crypto companies. That bill could be slipped into the U.S. Farm Bill up to be renewed in September 2023. So I don't know if this is going to actually happen, but he introduced the bill Wednesday alongside Senator Kristen Gillibrand, obviously a Democrat, that will ban companies established in China from acquiring a stake in American digital asset firms. So look, I don't even know what to say about this, but I guess that's a good thing. I don't know. It says here the bill is an attempt to rid the influence of Chinese Communist Party on American crypto companies, according to Tuberville. This bipartisan bill will help to wall off the burgeoning American digital commodity industry from the CCP interference and preserve our data privacy and investor protection rights. So I haven't read the bill or whatever, but it seems like nothing too crazy here. But sometimes these things are done. Anything with China, right, to be anti-China is sometimes can be used as just for optics and political grandstanding. But we'll see. Maybe this is legit, and there are aspects of it, as mentioned here, data privacy and all that. Maybe that's a good thing, right? Now, we got some updates around Bittrex. Remember, Bittrex was forced to leave the United States due to the SEC, and the SEC, of course, filed a lawsuit against them. Bittrex US request to return customer funds premature, government argues. The US government is opposing a motion from Bittrex to return customer funds, at least for now. So again, we're seeing just the attack, right, on crypto and even the holders. And the government is trying to block this. And this kind of stuff really gets me upset. So essentially, the U.S. government is saying that the motion is premature and it improperly attempts to subordinate creditors outside of its plan. The latter is due in part to the fact that Bittrex US owes the Financial Crimes Enforcement Network $5 million. So the government has to get its cut before you get your money back. Think about that. The government's supposed to work for you. Your tax dollars fund the government, but they got to get their cut before you get anything back. Oh, man. Boy, this is why we got to keep our government officials accountable. They work for us, not their own self-interest. So this sucks, but we'll see. We'll see. Maybe something changes here. Anyway, guys, that's the news. Let me know what you think. Leave your thoughts and comments below. Hit the thumbs up button. Share this video. Leave 5 stars on the podcast. And I'll talk to you all later.